Hey everyone, welcome back to another Silvia S15 or 200SX video where we'll be going through understanding the central locking a little bit better, making new keys, and also upgrading the alarm and central locking to a Compustar remote unit.
So I'm curious to find out what this box does. It was plugged into this plug here, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pin plug. It looks a little bit sort of aftermarket, but not, because this says Nissan on it. So, and then opening it up, it's just really a half filled box, which is weird. So what's that look like on the other side? Not much to it. I have no idea what it does, but would really love to know if anyone does know. Now, without any of that plugged in, I think it's still going to start. Yep, still starts, so it's not got to do with an immobilizer.
So with that mystery solved, I'm going to see if I can get this remote to work.
Alright, so gonna see if this can sync in. So this is a new key, and we didn't get one with the car, but I know it's got a NATS module, and I'm hoping it's gonna work. So there's a procedure that I found online where you've got to insert the key 6 times, and then apparently something happens with the dash or the indicators, and then you're able to press the button. So I'm just gonna follow that and see how it goes. Okay, so apparently you close the door, you lock the door, then you grab your key and you insert it 6 times quickly into the steering lock. 3, 4, 5, 6. Hazards are meant to flash. I don't see no flashing hazards. Just try and press the button. Nothing. Nope.
Now, I tried several different procedures to try and get this central locking fob to work, but no matter what I tried, I couldn't get the car to go into learning mode and just have given up on that. So this fob that I got new just doesn't do anything. I'm not sure if I was just doing it wrong or whatever, but it just seems none of the instructions online are really suitable for this module. So with that part of the system not working, I decided to investigate some other things. And this is where I'm looking at the immobilizer system.
Remove the immobilizer chip from the key. I'm just going to see if this does have immo off or not. Oh.
So with that chip removed, that has triggered the immobilizer to activate. So you can see that's definitely part of the immobilizer system and not that square box that I had out before. And now with it back in the key, you can see that the engine light doesn't flash anymore. So now, knowing that chip is integral to the immobilizer, I decided to do some research to find out what kind of chip it was. And once I found out what that was, I was able to get it copied and get the key cut and then get some extra keys made, and they all work absolutely fine with the system. Alright, so now we know how to get extra keys made. Let's get this central locking and alarm upgraded with a Compustar unit. So this is the exact kit that I got from eBay, and I got it from an American seller. I just had to make sure that they delivered to Australia, and you get a lot for what you pay for. And I chose this model. It says it's meant to be for automatics only, but it still works on the manual. And I got it because it has 2 fobs, really long range, and also shock sensor, as well as a warning LED in various places. So just reviewing what you get in the box are the 2 remote fobs. One has an LED screen, which is really nice, and that's a 2-way pager. So whatever happens to your car, you'll get signaled and notifications on your 2-way pager. And then the other one is just a 1-way sort of fob that locks and unlocks and also does a remote start, which I'm not hooking up, but it's good to know that this system has that. Then you've got the brain module, which everything plugs into. On top of that, this is the remote antenna, and this is what allows the two remotes to have a really long range of frequency. In addition, you'll get a relay which helps with the remote start. You get a shock tilt sensor as well, which you can change the sensitivity. You'll receive the alarm siren, a whole bunch of wiring looms, as well as your instructions and various stickers to show that you've got a Compustar alarm installed. So how do you go about installing the Compustar? So do you remember that box that we were looking at the very start that everyone thinks is the Immobilizer box? Well, that 12-pin plug is going to come in very handy now because it has all the wires to be able to wire up the Compustar brain box. So you can see that the two red wires provide you 12 volts always live. Then there's a blue and black wire in the middle, which is your ignition 12 volts. And then you've got some wires on the left-hand side there, which go to the indicators. So then that's what you need to have the blinking action for when you arm and disarm the alarm. And to get an accessories 12 volts, you just wanted to hook into the fuse box, which is easily done with a fuse box tapper. And then you get something that looks like this. Obviously, this is just me in testing phase, and you want to neaten this up when you get to the final phases of the install.
All right, so after you've got your alarm brain sorted out, which is all up there, it's a bit of a mess, so that's something for me to tidy up later on. What you want to do is hook into the door lock relay, which is this black one here. You can feel it clicking when you activate the lock from your door controls, or the lock knob, which is the one in the handle. And the thing that I noticed is that there is no motor on the driver's side. When you're looking at the wiring diagrams, there's no motor on the driver's side, but you've got this relay in here, which is really good because then all you've got to do is hook into it, and you don't need to install your own set of double relays that you see most people do when they're adding some aftermarket solenoids to control the doors. So what I've done is these two wires, I know it's pretty temporary, but it just let me quickly and easily switch things around as I was testing things out. These two come from the alarm unit, and they're the signal to send ground to the relay, and then it activates the relay to open and close. And when I first hooked these up in the correct way, I noticed that the driver's side door was unlocking and locking, but of course nothing was happening on the sorry, that's the passenger side door. Nothing was happening on the driver's side. And that is, I guess, normal operation. When you read the manual, the door controls actually don't lock the driver's side when you use the controls in the window switch, which is a bit bizarre. But when you use the one in the handle, that then triggers something in the lock module here to then lock both sides. So that is only a mechanical connection to the lock module, so then it controls that as well. So from there's an electrical connection in the lock module, which I'm guessing is part of this connector here. I've traced it all back, and it goes in and through. And in mine, there's like a factory central locking situation, which is this box here, but I couldn't get it to sync with the normal Nissan key fob. I couldn't get it to activate the programming, so I just went with an aftermarket solution. So back to the wiring. These two are, so this on the Compustar is a blue and a blue-green thin wire, and they're a negative trigger to send that trigger down into the relay, and then the relay sends the signal to lock and unlock to the passenger side there. And those signals come from the thick blue, and there's a blue and white. You can see that there's a white trace on that wire there, blue and white wire, which then goes to the passenger side door. But then all you got to do is hook into those to then send that unlock and lock signal to your aftermarket solenoids, which will go here, and that'll control the driver's side. And essentially it'll be an electronic control for this trigger switch here that isn't there already, or it is there but I just can't figure it out and how to do it with the factory setup.
So here are my notes for that 12-pin plug that goes into what I'm going to call the central locking unit. And this is going to allow you to get power and signals to your CM900-AS brain box. So pause the video here, take your own notes, and this should really help you out. I will also mention to just ignore all the rows in yellow. They were just my notes. I was trying to get the OEM central locking working on the driver's side, and I thought those were the pins. They probably are, but I just couldn't get it actuating. So here I'm just testing out the aftermarket slave actuator, and you can see that those blue and white wires are plugged into that relay. And testing it out with everything hooked up, you can see it works really nicely with the fob, which is pretty awesome. So this next set of wiring diagrams will show exactly what needs to be hooked up from the Compustar signals connections to get everything else up and running, like your actuator here, and also all of the other signals to have your boot signal working, your bonnet signal working, and all the other wires that are relevant. Noting that I'm not installing the auto start or the remote start feature. So if you're watching and you're finding this video super helpful, remember to like and subscribe. It really does help me out, and I'll be creating more of these videos for the S15.
Okay, so this is the plan. That's where the aftermarket solenoid's gonna go, and then I'm gonna run the wiring. This is the wiring that I've got through to follow the main loom. And you can see I've removed the door jamb boot from both sides to then feed this through and into here, which then will reach the door lock relay, which is this relay there. And then just gotta put everything back together again. So this is tricky. Make sure you just get that out from both sides. It'll make it easier to feed your little coat hanger thing to feed the wire through. Yeah, so just gotta neaten it all up now that I've got that solenoid activating with the Compustar alarm. Alright, so now before I put the door card back on, you can see the final mounting position of the solenoid there. So that's the slave solenoid. It's got the 2 wires only. What I needed to do was really cut that rod down a lot so that it could fit in there. You don't really need a long length, and then just fasten it onto the locking rod here, which then connects to your control here. So that's all good. You can see that works. That's a bit tough to move now because I need to actuate it with the button, but it works nicely to lock and unlock now, which is great. Sweet. And the wiring, so the 2 lock and unlock wires are now fastened in with the loom. You can see there, and it runs in and through the door jamb and down into here. So it looks like a mess, but like I said before, we're tapping into the door lock relay there, and that gives you all the signals that you need to be able to upgrade the security system and get the central locking back up and running. Really good, and much more advanced features than the basic central locking that was there before, and it actually works with the programming now. So now I can tidy everything back up, which is great. Get this sorted out again and put the door card back on. So you can see it all in full working order. There. And that's the kit that I used from J-Car. Make sure it's the slave
that you've got there, and it's 2 wires, not the 5-wire version. Pretty good price, it's like 20 bucks. And of course a demo just to show how it all works once all the trim and everything has been reinstalled. So you can see that the unlock in the driver's side door works properly now, which is awesome. There is the blue LED on the left hand side of the screen that you can see there. So it lights up solid blue for a little bit before it starts flashing 3 times to show that the system is armed. You can see that the driver's door is now locking and unlocking because we've installed that slave actuator in the door, and it all works really nicely. And that key fob is pretty awesome as well. I like that it's not full color, it kind of gives you that early 2000s feel, so it kind of fits in with the generation of this vehicle. So some other things to note is that you can see that the indicators are all lighting up as well, and that's due to being hooked into that central locking 12-pin plug, the one that you saw the wiring to. And you can see that the passenger side is also unlocking and locking as we need it to. Now getting the trigger signals for the doors being open and the handbrake. You don't have to go running around and pulling trim and getting to the actual sensors themselves, because the instrument cluster has a lot of things centrally wired up into it. And so this is where I've hooked into the white plug and the brown plug on the other end. So on either end is where you'll get the signals for the door open or door close signal, and that's at the white plug at a pink wire, and then the handbrake signal will come from the brown plug on the other side there, and that is a red wire with a white trace. So it's pretty handy. And then for the boot being open signal, that's where you want to, this is where you will have to feed some wire all the way from the brain and down through to the very back, feed it through under there, and then through to the trunk boot light, which you'll then be able to signal to the brain that the trunk is open, or the boot is open, or the boot is closed, and then that will trigger the alarm should the boot be open and the alarm is armed. Okay, so just demonstrating the fob showing the doors being opened while the alarm is armed, or the bonnet and the boot. You can see here all those areas are flashing, and that's because, yep, that door is open, yep, the boot is open. So again, you can see they flash white. The bonnet is slightly ajar, so yep, that's saying it's open, that's correct. Great, so then let's close this, and you'll see that will no longer flash. Let's, I'm just gonna press the button here, and that then should mean it's no longer open. So I'm just pressing it with my foot. You can't see that, I'm not showing my feet on YouTube, but here we go. So you can see that that's locked, but I'm just simulating the door is closed. I haven't actually shut the door, but I'm using this, and there we go. There you go, so that went off, which is what we want, and that's because the alarm was armed. Let's kill that. Okay, so the alarm's going off because it thinks that the door has been opened while the alarm is armed. So that's exactly what we want, which is good. So hoping that really helps you get your head around installing this Compustar alarm. It's probably going to be the same thing for any other alarm installation in the Silvia S15. And remember to like and subscribe, because I've got more S15 video mods and upgrades for you coming in the future. If you have any questions about this, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.